Back in 2021, Mrs. Kim had an interview call with reporter Lee Myung-soo from YouTube channel called The Sound of Soul for 6 months. During the call, she threw the following curses. They're a toast. Look how we'll end them. The bastard is a liar. Why did she say such a harsh words as someone? Among those whom Mrs. Kim cursed at is a man named Chung Jae-taek, who fought between her and her mother Cheon-sung for 19 years in court. Chung Jae-taek was a business partner of Kim-Gun's mother who invested in the business. She lost her husband in her 40s and ran a love hotel with her husband's legacy. In Korea, a love hotel refers to a short-term accommodation hotel for sexual activity. In 1993, when all nearby love hotels were punished for violating the land law and illegal building expansions, she was the only one who could get away from the arrest. And is told that in the background there was a prosecutor named Hong Man-pyo, whom she met through her first man after her husband's death. As she learned the power of prosecution, she became bolder. In particular, she was very interested in real estate investment. She looked for experts in the field and made a promise with her partners to share the profits. But then she sued the partners, claiming that she was forcefully engaged in contracts and put them in jail. Ultimately, she took the profits alone. With the protection from prosecutors, she accumulated wealth by accusing innocent people, providing false testimonies, and eventually won the cases. And through her second man, she expanded her network with the legal brokers. One of the victims was Chung Jae-taek, whom she had cursed. 19 years ago, in June 2003, when the sports center where Mr. Chung Jae-taek was a member of the emergency response team went bankrupt, he learned that he could make a huge profit by buying up the bones of the sports center at a low price. Then after hearing about him, Mrs. Cheon soon approached Mr. Chung Jae-taek. Mr. Chung provided investment information, and Mrs. Kim's mother, Che, financed and made a promise to divide the profits equally. When the contract was made, there was a legal assistant, Mr. Pecks, who was a friend of Mr. Chung's hometown friend, as a witness. The First Lady's mom, Mrs. Che, invested $1 million, and in just after 5 months, they made a huge profit of $5.3 million. However, Mr. Chung did not receive a promised $2.6 million, which was the half of the profit. Mrs. Che sued Chung Jae-taek in court, claiming that the contract was written under Chung's coercion. She made a secret deal with his friend, Mr. Pecks, who notarized the contract. She promised to give him $1.3 million if he lied under the oath that the contract was written by Chung's coercion. Deceived by her words, Mr. Pecks betrayed his friend and made a false statement in court. His perjury played an important role, and the prosecution sentenced Mr. Chung to 2 years in prison, and he was in prison for 1 year and released on parole in 2008 for his good behavior. Mr. Chung Jae-taek contributed to making millions of dollars for Mrs. Che, but he himself ended up in prison without receiving a single penny. Cheon-sung gave Mr. Pecks, a legal assistant, an apartment in her daughter's name, Mrs. Kim-Gunhee, and $200,000 in cash. However, she did not give the rest of the promised amount, and Pecks realized that he had been deceived. Feeling guilty of betraying his lifelong friend, Mr. Pecks knelt down in front of Mr. Chung and asked for forgiveness. On September 22, 2005, he testified in court that he had committed perjury because of Mrs. Kim and her mother. Frightened by Mr. Pecks' confession, Mrs. Kim-Gunhee personally brought $100,000 check to him and begged him to change his mind, but he refused. If his overturned statement was accepted, Mrs. Che would not have been able to escape from prison for fraud and false accusation. However, the court gave a very unexpected ruling on Mr. Pecks' overturned statement. Instead of conspiracy to commit perjury, he was sentenced to 2 years in prison for violating the Attorney Act that has nothing to do with the case. Mrs. Kim-Gunhee and her mother, who won the lawsuit, did not stop there and filed a lawsuit to retrieve the cash and apartment that I had given to Mr. Pecks in exchange for perjury. The court ordered Mr. Beck to return the apartment to them. Mr. Beck lost the apartment he received from them, and he died after battling cancer shortly after being released from a prison. Later, Mrs. Kim-Gun-hee went to visit Mr. Beck's wife to silence her with cash, threatening not to comment on the lawsuit to anyone. KBS, Korean Broadcasting System, reported that Mr. Beck's family was evicted from her apartment and are living in a semi-basement of the house. It is told that behind all this was the prosecutor Yang Jae-taek, a married man who had an affair with Kim Gun-hee, and we'll find out the reasoning for it in the next episode.